Okay, this one is live. Right, entire screen. Share. Okay, now we should be ready to go. Okay, first of all, I'm going to go over to our section on Google Drive and just make sure again that everybody knows how to look at that with their Evernote and see exactly that what your assignments are is what matches what you've got in your folder. Is 8056 is this class, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in this shared folder, now if you recently shared with me and you don't see yours in here, it's just that I haven't added you to this group. So if I scroll down here and make sure everyone's in here except for Rocky, yours will be in a different folder, so you won't be in this folder. Okay, so I'll see everybody's name over here. I have Luke, Piers, Amanda, Aaron, Alec, Brian, David, Enrique, I think that's right, Juan, John, Keisha, Mason, Nicholas Brock, Nicholas Carey, Nicholas, what's the last name on that one? Martinez, Rodrigo. Is there two Mason? Let's see. Mason, I have.
You had moved something from my folder to that.
Oh, I see.
I can't move that because I don't have permission.
This one right here?
Yes.
Okay, is it not in there? Is that what you're saying? Let's see.
It's not, you moved it out of the folder.
Okay, you should have more permission than I do on your own folder. Okay, so here's your HTML. Here's your exercise 6, and I'm assuming this exercise is 1 through 3, right? No?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what I moved out, was your exercises 1 through 3? Okay, let me go back and see if I can fix that for you. If I did, I wonder why it shouldn't have let me move something out and you not have access to it. That's really strange. It wouldn't let you? Okay, let's see, it's messed up. Okay, let's see here. Move to... I see, I can't even see yours, I think. Oh, there's yours. Okay, yours is MC, so it needs to move there. Let's see.
That's it.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Okay, thanks. Let me see here. Move this one. I hear some people are online. I can hear you all. I'll go over there and see who we've got with us today. Yours is MC right there, right? Okay, let's see if we can get it. Move. Okay. Okay, let's see if we got yours fixed then, Mason. That should have done it. So now, there it is. That's your 1 through 3 document, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so now let me look here and see who we have in our Hangout. Let's see, where is... Who do we have? Someone came in. Who is that? Keenan. Okay, Keenan, you're in the online class, right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Well, we're just going through, and you can either, if you have a question, you can also ask questions. And students were telling me before that viewed these that when someone in my class asks a question, I'll repeat it so you guys know, so that you all will hear their question, okay? All right.
Okay.
And if you need to log off at any time, this is being recorded, so you should be able to go back and watch it. Okay?
Cool.
All right. So we got through. Does anybody have any questions then? What needs to be in their Chapter 1 folder? And it can be one document or it can be two, like Mason did here. He has his exercises 1 through 3 are in this Word document. And then he has, and we went over those in class. Where's my exit there? Docs home. No, I don't want that. Okay, and then he has his exercise 6 in a separate document, and this is the correct pseudocode, unless you could have used a different variable name for exercise 6. And then he has his HTML for problem 6, and actually when it's HTML I have to download it to see it, I guess. Sometimes it opens it right when I say download, but that one didn't. Okay, so if I save his, let me do a students here so we can look. Gosh. If anybody wants to shut that door back there, it might help a little bit, although our walls are pretty thin. It may help a little bit. Usually it comes right through the wall. Okay, let's save it. Okay, now if I wanted to look at his HTML and make sure it runs, which is this first time, I don't, I'm going to give you all full credit because I'm just wanting to see that you're able to do everything, get everything in the right places. Okay, I'm going to open this with Dreamweaver here. Although I usually use Text Wrangler, I forgot, but it'll show up the same way. Oh, yours didn't open. Okay, here's what has to happen when you, remember I was telling you all in HTML, when you upload HTML, for some reason, Google or any place you upload it to, even when you upload it to D2L, if I use the Dropbox, it wipes out your HTML. So you have to zip it. Even if it's just a single file, you have to zip it for it to not wipe it out. Does anybody have theirs in zipped format up there on the drive? You have the project, but does anybody have exercise 6 zip?
I have both up there, zip.
Okay, let's look at yours. I forgot, what's your name?
Robert Marshall.
Robert Marshall. Okay, let's look at yours. Oh, that would be this one. I can kill. Uh-oh.
I opened it up with Google Drive, mine doesn't use it like that, right? Yeah, mine either. Mine doesn't. Just pops plug.
Okay, let's see if I can try that again then. Yours, Mason, was here. And you're saying if you lift, just open it right here. Let me see. Yours does, huh? Let me see if I say open with Google Drive Viewer. We're updating the viewing experience. Oh, it's downloading. We have the got it. Okay, didn't work for me. Open with. Oh, maybe this will work. HTML editing. Let's see what this does. I don't know what that did, but that wasn't what I wanted. Let me see if it'll open with Drive Notepad. Nope, that didn't work. Does yours open? It's just yours? Okay. All right, so some of them it's doing okay. His did not. Okay, let's go to, Robert said yours was zip, but then Piers, you said yours opened, several of y'all said without it being that way. So let's look in Piers Chapter 1 folder. Oh, actually that's the wrong one, wasn't it? Okay, in his Chapter 1 folder, his exercise 6.html, and it does open right up. The problem would be I couldn't run it from here, but this is the correct JavaScript for exercise number 6. So in order to run it, I would have to download it, which I can do that here. And let's see if when I download it, it downloads correctly where it lets me run it. That's what I want to know. Okay, so exercise 6. There it is. It did. So something was wrong with Mason's. But here I can run his. You'll notice that it matches his pseudocode. His pseudocode said that it was he set up input my number, and this is the statement in JavaScript that will do input my number. Okay? Rocky, if you can't see from back there, you're welcome to sit up here. It's up to you. So my number, the prompt, remember, is what says input in JavaScript. So that's going to create the screen back to the screen where it says please enter a number. Then this statement is just for precaution, and in this particular program, you wouldn't have to put that in simply because there's not a processing step there. But it's always good practice to just go ahead every time you ask the user to input a number. It's better if you want it to be looked at as numeric and not a string. Who can tell me what a string is when I say string? Yeah, name and any. Go ahead, Pierce.
String is basically a string. What's the character?
Characters. It's anything. So digits can sometimes. Okay, digits can sometimes be looked at as characters. Like if you're typing in an address, you're going to have digits there, but you don't want them interpreted as digits, right? You want them to be characters. You don't want to do any calculation on them, in other words. Does that make sense? See the difference in a string. If it's a phone number, you don't want to do any calculations on that phone number, so it's looked at as a literal numeric constant. Okay, you should have read that term in Chapter 2. It was a literal numeric constant if it has digits, but you're not doing anything with those digits except for putting them out to the screen. Okay, so then his exercise 6 said to display that number 5 times. So that's what he did with a document.writeLine my number, document.writeLine my number. So when I run it, whatever number I input should print out 5 times. And because there's not a break, which we'll talk about that later, it'll print them straight across like it's one big number, right? That's the thing about the browser. It doesn't put any spaces in unless you tell it to. So here, say I put number 10. Let me see if, and this is my box. This comes up because of my prompt in my JavaScript. So it just automatically, here's what I told it to ask the user, please enter a number. I entered 10, and so it displayed 10 5 times, right? So if I wanted to go to a new line, those of you that's played around with HTML, does anybody know what I do to make it go to a new line? Anybody know any HTML? There's actually a tag called a break, and we'll put that in here later on, and then you can make things go to another line. Nick? In a GUI? Yeah. That's what I'm doing right now, you mean?
No, how do you get it? Put it
like I just did. The JavaScript's doing that.
Right. I mean, but
how did I run it?
No, how do you get it to display a GUI? Once it just displays it, your tins, like you're on the tins, and just right there on the screen in one.
Right. Oh, in a box? Yes.
Like the prompt comes up in a box.
Right. Yes, but you can use something called an alert instead of a document.writeLine. Okay? So those of you that want to do fancy output and stuff, go out to that W3 Schools. Oh, and for those of you that are going to be listening to this, what Nick asked was how can he get his output to show in a box just like the input does. Well, you can do that with a command in here called an alert. Let me show you. But then we'll go on and then I'll show you all how to do it. Like this time, okay, let me see if this will, 5, save. And then if I run it in Google Chrome, I say 10. Okay, it didn't do it because I'm going to have to, there's something I didn't do for all those other alerts to work. What is just alert? Okay, just a minute. Oh, I know why. Won't do it if it's capital. The reason I could tell that, Dreamweaver kind of helped me because it wasn't in pink. It's color-coded, so my word alert was, if it's a keyword, it can't be capital. It has to be lowercase, so it should work now. Okay, if I say 10, there's 10 in a box. Okay, that's not pretty. Like, you can actually use CSS and HTML. If you like learning all that stuff, you can learn it on your own, or you can take my HTML class next semester. I offer it the first 8 weeks. So we learn HTML5 and CSS3, but I'll show you some more stuff later you can do with that. Because you can go out to a website called w3schools.com, and it's kind of like Khan Academy. I don't believe I showed this to you all last time. I think it was just my class yesterday. But you notice that if you really want to, you can learn on your own about anywhere. But this is a website that is World Wide Web standards compliant because it's actually created by the W3C, which is a organization that kind of governs the standards of the web. They can't really slap your hands if you don't follow those standards because the web is open source. But what they are, they're a body of people that meet on a committee that try to make the web a little more standard so that when you open your program in Firefox, or you open your web page in Internet Explorer or Safari, that it all looks the same. And it's been a long road, like we're to HTML5, and there's just now some of those people playing together. You know what if you understand what I'm saying by that. Microsoft is notorious for saying, hey, I'm going to do my own thing because I've got the corner on the market. So I don't have to comply with anybody. And that's kind of how they've been their posture in the past. But now there's more cooperation, and so this organization governs this educational site, and you can go in, and this is a JavaScript tutorial if you really want to learn more than what we present in class, and this is a reference that lets you know what that alert does. Okay, and these little tutorials are kind of like Khan Academy because it lets you try it yourself. It says my first JavaScript example, and it tells you to click date, and it displays the date, and you can do try it yourself, and here's the JavaScript that will result in this, and when you click date it does that. So if you want to change it somewhere or add something where it says in quotes my first JavaScript, you can say hello world and make this say, so now I could go in here and I can have it print out, and I can use an H1 tag. I don't have to, but I'll do that here. I'll make it all caps. Hello world. And then I have to end my H1. That's actually not JavaScript. This is actually code, or I'm sorry, this is actually HTML, not. So there's what I changed. I made Oh, I didn't cancel my H1, so it made everything big. If I submit it again, there we go. And my date still works. So you can go over to that website, how much time you want to spend on it. It's similar to Khan Academy, but this is straight learning certain things, like when I was telling you also about HTML. If you wanted to find some of the HTML basic things, there's the heading, paragraphs, links. That's how you put a link in. Image tag. I was trying to find where break is. Let me see. It must be where you can see it. HTML formatting. Okay, if we do formatting, there's bold and italic. I thought that was going to tell. There's some of the formatting. That doesn't have the break in it either. And then it's down there. Okay. Let me go down to home. Go to tag reference. Okay. And that's what you can put in right here. Defines a single line break. So you can actually put that in your JavaScript, but you have to put it in as a variable. That's why when you're using JavaScript instead of putting it at the top. So let me show you that. I know how much time we got. I don't want to not get to project 1, but if we wanted to, okay, I'm going to change this back to what it was. And if we wanted it to break, this is one way to do it. I can just define a BR and say set it equal to, oops, not that. Oops, what did I do? Slash BR. Actually, I might have to put it in. I think I'm going to have to put it in quotes.
So can you code just HTML directly, or do you have to? I mean, HTML and JavaScript are different.
Yes.
But is JavaScript and HTML language?
They're called. Okay, JavaScript's called a scripting language, and HTML is called a markup language, and Java is a programming language. So the difference, like Java, has to be compiled. It won't just straight open up in a browser. And for JavaScript to open up in a browser, it has to be surrounded by HTML. Okay, and that's what we did here. But if I wanted... No, it won't work. Your logic won't work in HTML. That's why we have to use scripting, because we're trying to learn logic. Let me see if this works. I think this works this way. If we wanted this one to have... That's how you can code it if you want to break. So I could go down there in every one and put, you see why it worked? Because I set up a variable, and I could call the variable break if I want, like that. Or I can, oh no, I can't, because that's a keyword. I'd have to say something like BRK or something. So if I say variable BR, set that variable to the constant value here, then what it does is when I say my number plus BR, it's going to put in the place of that BR the break. Now, this is just added. You don't have to do this for the test or anything. It's just if you want it to go to a new line where it makes more sense, you can do this. And then if you say File, Save, and then we run it. We say 10. There we go. Okay. So I can put that up there or out in out in Evernote for you a link to that file where if you want to do the break, that's just up to you. That was a lot of extra. Okay. Oh, goodness, I hope I don't lose my computer. Is kind of not at much of a charge. Okay, so what I want to do next, is there any questions over what we just did? If you don't understand the break, no problem. Don't worry about it. Put it aside. Put it over in your bank somewhere. All right, so we're going to go to project number 1 then at this point, and I'm going to pull it up. Let me pull it up in the Word document, and we're going to look over it. Oops, I don't want to update right now. No. So this is the document that you should have pulled up for Project 1. And I believe we read it together in class. And basically, this one is like you're at a Mathis, you're doing a job for Mathis Brothers Furniture Store on their website, and they want to. They're telling you that currently desk lamps are $65 and coffee tables cost $155. So you're to write a flow chart, pseudocode, and JavaScript source code for a program which Mathis Brothers can run on your website to compute what their invoice total will be when they order a certain number of lamps and coffee tables from your company. So it gives you a little hint here and tells you it's the process step is like multiplying 2 numbers, and you have an example of what that looks like. So, and then also I give you the example test runs if you're running it with 2 variables, with 2 lamps and 3 coffee tables. This is what your output should say. All right? If you put in 5 and 6, it should say this. So that's what I'll test your JavaScript with, is with those inputs. That's how you tell when you run your program whether you've got it coded correctly. Yes?
I couldn't get mine to actually put the decimal point in. It just shows.
Oh, that's okay. Right now, I'm not worried about the decimal point. I'll show you how to do that. That's a.
I figured if it was if the values for the coffee had cents in it, then it might come up that way.
Yes.
It didn't change the variable.
Yes. And what some people did is they hard-coded 0.0 at the end as a constant. I'd show you how to do that. But that's not the real way to do it. There's a function in JavaScript to do it, and you don't have to put that on there.
Does it have to say exactly what you want? It says something else. Does it say the cost of virtualization?
Oh, no. Yeah, as long as you know how to change it, just so it doesn't just put the number out there. I want you to be able to. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, so let's look at some. Okay, we'll look at David's and see how his works. All right, but before we do that, I want to let me get sorting up. Hold on just a minute. This one here. Okay, so if we were going to, let me do this. If we were going to write out this program in pseudocode, the first thing we would want to know in looking at this problem is what variables do we need and how many. Okay, so we're going to start here. I could also do this in Lucidchart, but in fact, I think I will do it in Lucidchart. That might be a little more straightforward here. I did have Lucidchart open. Okay, let me go over to Documents, and let me see if this is one that I started. Well, I just started a new one. Let me get rid of this for a second. All right, so I'm going to create a document. Oops. And this is what you will do when you start the test problem. You will come into class, in D2L there will be the document for the test. You can either open it on your computer or you can print it out in the back, whichever way, if you rather have it laying beside you, whichever's easier for you. Okay, and then, why is it not starting? Then you will go into Lucidchart or Visio. I know, Amanda, you kept trying to do Visio. This is much easier.
I can't get Visio to download.
Well, we don't want to use Visio. Well, nobody was. That's the first I've heard of Lucidchart giving anybody trouble.
I can't get it to type text.
Oh, I'll show you how. There's some problem that you just haven't. Okay, we're going to go into Lucidchart, and we're going to call this project number 1. You can call it whatever. Okay, so when we start out, if we're starting our pseudocode out, you can do text a couple of different ways. If we want to put a box on there, then we just drag it over here, and then we can make our box whatever size we want by dragging the corners out. This is going to be our pseudocode. And I'm just making a real big one so that I can make the text really large for you so you can see it back there. So I enlarge my text up here at the top, just like you would in a word processor. Okay? And so now I'm going to, now I'm on a Mac. I don't know if it'll be any different. I don't think so. I'm going to go over, I don't want my text in the middle of my box. So I'm going to go up here, left align it. Then I'm going to have it start at the top. Okay? So all of these icons that you can't maybe see back there are all the same icons that are at the top of a word processor, like Microsoft Word. They're formatting icons, okay? So I'm just going to format my box, and if this, at the test you can't do this, you can do your pseudocode in Word, because everybody has Word. And so we'll do both here, though. So I'm going to say start. And then one thing that I have to do on the Mac, and I don't know if this is true in Windows, one of you guys that's used Lucidchart on your PC can tell me, I have to hit Shift-Enter to go to the next line instead of just Enter. Enter takes me out of the box. Okay? It's the same. Okay, if you do Shift-Enter, it will take you to the next line. And let me see if Tab works. Yeah, Tab does work, so you can tab over. And the first variable that Amanda told us we need is the total cost, right? So actually, I'm going to put comments here. You don't have to, but this is my declarations of my variables. And pseudocode has not been required to have those. But it's easier if you're going to put it in Java source code sometimes to go ahead and make your declarations of your variables in your pseudocode. I won't count it wrong if you don't do that. I'm just saying that's something that then line for line your pseudocode will match your JavaScript code. Okay? So here we go, var, and she's saying total cost or invoice total, whatever the variable that makes sense to you. Remember, no spaces in variable names. I could have put an underscore there and said total underscore cost if that looks better to you. You can, but the thing is, neither do you want to make variables all caps unless it's a constant, and that's what we'll talk about here in a minute. Okay, what's another variable that we're going to need?
I didn't say total cost, I said cost of the item.
You want to, okay.
But we are eventually going to need a total cost.
Right, so we'll need the total cost. If you do it in 2 processing steps, 2 calculations, then you will need 2 separate costs, which is what you're saying. You need a cost of lamps and a cost of tables, right? So what you're saying? Okay, that's one way to do it. We'll do it that way first. Okay, variable total lamps And you could have named these variables whatever you wanted. And variable, oops, my other one didn't tab right. Variable, total, tables maybe. Shift enter. Okay, so now my declarations, oops, are over. No, not yet. I've got some more variables I need, right? Do I have any more variables? Okay, here's one thing. What? Okay, you mean like $65 and okay. If I do it that way, I can make these into constants. Is that what you used? Great. Okay. Well, you have to have those too. You have to have the input for the total number of lamps and the total can't, but we haven't even done number yet. Okay, so variable, we're going to say lamp cost. Oh, actually, I'm going to make this all caps because that's what tells you that it's a constant. What's the difference in a constant variable and a, oops, I'm spelling out constant. What's the difference in a constant variable and just a variable like we explained up above, total lamps? David? Correct. What David said is that constants cannot be changed, so you give them a value at the top, and other variables can be changed by whatever's input by the user. So the next one, oops, I don't want that part to be caps. Here's a good question. Amanda said, why is it a variable and if it can't be changed? The reason being, you can change it at the top here. So the thing is, and let me tell you the purpose of that. When you have a constant at the top in your declarations, then you can use that constant, name constant, numerous times throughout a very long program and not have to go down all through the program and change it. Because say in a year from now, probably only 6 months from now, the cost of the lamp goes up to $75. All you have to do to maintain the program is go in right here in your declarations and change the cost to $75. David?
In your pseudocode, what if we use num instead of variable? Instead of VAR? What if I get
That's fine, because pseudocode makes absolutely no difference.
Right.
In our book, in fact, that makes it generic to any language. Okay? So what David's question was, why couldn't you use num instead of var when you're making your declarations in your pseudocode? It will work. In JavaScript, the key word is var. So in here, and in our textbook, it's logic. So it's supposed to be teaching you logic for any language. So num would be appropriate. I do it this way just because we're doing JavaScript, okay? And you can tailor your pseudocode when you're in a language class to make more sense to whatever language you're using. Because pseudocode is really for the programmer, okay? But sometimes in the beginning, like in logic, like if you were taking this class with Professor Everston, he doesn't have you do JavaScript, and so he has you go straight by the book, the pseudocode, and so there's no problem with that. I just, because we go ahead and apply it to a scripting language, I go ahead and, when I do the declarations, do that. Okay, so this one would be table underscore cost equals 155. Okay, now we still have to have two inputs, because if we're going to do two separate calculations and we have two totals, and maybe that's not what maybe Amanda was saying, maybe you just wanted num lamps here, so we could say I'll show, oops, not caps. Let's do it with one calculation, and then you guys can tell me if you did it a different way, okay? It's num lamps, number tables. So now we've got all of our declarations. So now we're ready to do our input. So I'm going to put another comment here. Input. Okay, tab over. And my input, I want the user to input num lamps, right? And input num tables. So in JavaScript, those are going to be prompts, right? 2 prompts. Okay? Next, I'm going to do my processing statement. Okay, if I want to do it in one statement and I want to say total cost equals, what would my statement say?
Num lamps times cost.
Oops.
Plus table.
Ooh, where'd mine go? I think it didn't stay on there. Let me see here. Where? I must have did something that it did. Did you see it move off while I was typing it? Maybe in there then somewhere. Let's see. Let me make mine. There it is. Okay. All right, because I'm trying to make it so big. All right, then it would say plus, and it still moved off screen. Sorry about that. Let's see, this lucid chart, when I try to make it big enough for everybody to see, I lost the whole thing. Yeah, just a second, and I will see if I can do that. It's because I have the text so large. Okay, let's see if I can get it to come down. I'm not sure what I did.
No, you actually deleted all.
I did? Okay, let's see. There we go. Thank you. All right, so if let me go Shift Enter and then just do plus here. Plus, and then I would do, what did you say, David? I would do num tables times table underscore cost. And then I would do Shift, I don't do a semicolon because I'm not in JavaScript yet. Okay, and then what's the last step that I have to do? I input, I did my processing, what do I do last? Go ahead, Robert. Output. Output, oops, no caps. Output, and what do I output? Which variable? Total, yeah, I can put, I know what you're saying, total cost, and in my pseudocode, I'm not writing that, what you said, total cost of merchandise, and so that would be in quotes, that would be a second one. I'm going to go down here and say stop, and that's the end of my pseudocode, okay? So now, if I was doing the next step in my test, would be my flow chart, and so what I do is I would have my start shape, which is this one, I could drag on, and then I would have actually where I could make my declarations, and those can either be in an input box or in a process box. If I do my declarations in my flow chart, it's really a process step. Then I do my input, which is, this is my data. So there's my input, and then I have my processing statement, and then I would have my output. So I can actually copy this into my boxes I would want to shrink all my text so I have room on the page. But when I get through, I want to be sure and save this as a PDF file. Okay? So I would go up here to File, oops, not in Chrome. I go to File and Lucidchart, and then I can say Download As, and it lets me select PDF. Okay? And so I say Download, and here's for students 8056, and yours is actually going to say anything. It can be test, and don't use that number sign. I should not have done that in the name. That will cause problems too. Don't use the pound sign. You can either say test 1 like that, or you can say test _1 like that. Okay, and then say save. And so now, if I open this up, there's what it looks like in a PDF. Okay? I didn't put all the code in here, so all your code would need to be in these shapes and the connectors. Yes?
Now, in our pseudocode, is it okay if we go ahead and put everything?
Yes.
All the stuff?
Yes. If you want your pseudocode to look just like your JavaScript, as long as you don't just do the JavaScript and copy it in there, where that you have no semicolons, you know, and all that, so that I know that you did the pseudocode first. Although I have had students that learned the JavaScript so quickly that they preferred writing their JavaScript first. That's fine if you want to do that, because scripting is really pretty close to pseudocode. It really is, because scripting is not like learning a language. A lot easier. Well, I have had students say that, and so there's not a problem with that. That's right, and see if it's right. And if you do the pseudocode, you've got to go in and desk check it. You've got to put right over to the side. That's why I was doing this way. If I look here, new blank page. Okay, so if I was doing it in pseudocode, see, I would have to, let me see if I can get one behind what I really want. Oh, that's not going to work right. I don't want to do it that way. Okay, so if I was desk checking it and I was using that particular pseudocode, then I would put up here all of my variables. If I didn't know, couldn't get my JavaScript to run, and I just wanted to see if actually my logic was correct, then I would put my variable names here, like total, what I call it, total cost. Okay, total cost is what I'm going to figure. And I've got to know num lamps. I think I can type it. I could have typed it if I would have started that way. Num lamps. I'm just not real good with the mouse real fast. Then num, okay, let me see how this does. Num, what's the other one? Tables. And is that all 3 variables that I need? That's all I'm going to have, right? So then if I go through my logic, and my logic says input num lamps and num tables. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. Oops, that didn't work. Okay, num tables. I'm doing this because I don't want to do the whiteboard where students in the Hangout can't see it later. Num tables. So let's say I put into num lamps a 2, which was my first test run, and I input 3 into tables. Then I look at my problem, which says total cost equals, okay, num lamps. It has to actually be exactly, so I'll do this. Num lamps times 65. So plus num tables Sorry about the writing here. Tables times 155. Okay, so if I have 2 up here and I have 3 here, what's total cost? If you multiply it on your calculator, what's 2 times 65, or if you can do it in your head, 130, right? And what is 3 times 155? That's a little harder one. So I would add the 2 together, and if it comes out to 595, then I look at my problem, that the test run that I gave you, and it said the test run is 595, so that would mean it was correct. But like what David's saying, he opened his, or he did his in JavaScript. So let's go to yours, DL, right? DL, projects. Okay, and he did what you were told to do, only put a zipped file by that name into your folder. So how do you do that? Okay, so I can't do it up here that way because I don't have a PC in front of me, but he created a folder named P1_David Lyons, okay? And in that folder, he had his PDF file, right? And his HTML. And then he right-clicked on it, on that folder, not on each file, and said send to compressed zip file, and it created this zip. Okay, so if I download this zip to my students here, then I go up here to where that's loaded, and I can double-click it, and now I see his folder, and he put all his work in there. His flowchart, this flowchart I can't open on the Mac, VSDX, so he did his in Visio. And so here is his flowchart, but there I can open his flowchart. Okay, so there's his flowchart. You've got your declarations. There's where he used an output box to ask. He even coded in his flowchart his output statement, which is great. Then his input desk lamps, then output, input, and this is how the book does it too, I believe. And then there's his processing step where he says total price equals desk lamps times 65 times the constant. Then the output, 2 output statements because he did output the total price of your purchase. Okay, so let's look at his actual HTML. So if I open here with Dreamweaver and I look at his HTML, let me hide that. Okay, so in his declarations, remember this is a starter file, right? You didn't have to know any of that. You write below the declaration statement. He has var desk lamps, var coffee tables. So that's going to be his 2 input variables, right? All right, here's his constants, 65 and 155. Since we're not printing out the decimal points right now, and you were probably trying to get it too, so he put 0.00 on there. So you don't have to do that right now. If you go over to the JavaScript reference, you'll see there's a function that'll let you do that. It's called it's called toFixed, and then you can tell it how many decimal places to do it to.
When you coded it like that, does it work though?
No, because it just ignores that, because he's wanting it to output points.
It works, it just doesn't put the best.
Oh, it doesn't help.
No.
It gives you the even number.
I can't get mine to print, or to when it shows the end result. I can get it to say the total of the products purchased is $, and then it won't. Like I have mine coded just like that. At the bottom is or whatever, but I can't get mine to show my total, to show my variable with that.
with that? Okay, we'll look at yours in just a second. I think we'll have time. Okay, so here, what we did, he put his .00 on there, and you'll see that doesn't format it, and there's a function called toFixed, T-O-F-I-X-E-D, and you tell it how many decimal places you want it to fix, and that will work. But that's isn't mandatory or anything, so we'll talk about that next after the test. But here's desk lamps equals prompt. How many desk lamps would you like to buy? So that's one statement that'll print out. Coffee tables equals prompt. How many coffee tables would you like to buy? And just like he commented here, convert text into numbers. So he remembered to do that because he's going to do a calculation here. So that's important to do that. So 1 times desk lamps and 1 times coffee tables, and then he just put that value back into those variables. Total price was the variable that he declared up at the top. So desk lamps times the constant desk lamps. Now, some people may have put desk lamps times 65 plus coffee tables times 155. That's correct. And you did not have to use constants, although you have that knowledge now from Chapter 2. So if you did use it, that's great. That's a plus, because from after this test, I'll want you to use constants, okay? I'll require you to use constants when it's the option that makes most sense. Okay, prompt. The total price of your purchase is total price. Thank you for using our website, document.writeline, total price. So you wrote out total price 2 times? Is that what you did?
Puts after it says, when it says the total
okay, I'll
price
run.
of the product is, it actually lists the total price in the box. When you hit return again, it just says thank you for using our website. And
here, we'll do it.
Hit enter again, it actually just puts it blank on that.
Okay, here's we're going to enter 2 desk lamps, 3 coffee tables, and put it in the box. Okay, that's what you're saying. The total price of your purchase is $5.95. Okay. Thank you for using our website. And then it should end. Oh, there it is. Okay. What did you put alerts in there? Let me look. I didn't even see alerts in there. Oh, you used prompt boxes. Okay, I see what you did. He used prompt boxes here. Okay, what you normally do is you put this as a document.writeline, and then it prints it all in one line at that time. I'll show you this. So if we say, well, let me open, because we're running out of time, let me open Nick's and see. His may do it that way.
I took it off.
So it's not up there at all?
No, I took it.
Okay.
I uploaded it wrong.
Okay, does anyone else want me to look at theirs before we go? If not, we will, oops, I sure didn't do that right. Document.writeline. The total price is total price. And document. Yours was okay, David. I'd never seen it done that way, but that does work. Okay, document. So now what it should do when we run it is done. Okay, so if we use 2, okay, 3, okay, there you go. It isn't formatted as nice because it's stuck up against here, but then another thing you can do to change that simple fix is just put a space inside the quote, or you can even put a semicolon there.
And I suppose you'll want to take off the last document right on the total price so it doesn't say price.
Yes, so then we would go here and go, there we go. Let me just comment it out for now. So now if I say file save, so 2, okay, 3, okay. And what we just learned about the break would cause that to go to another line, right? If you wanted, but you don't have to do that. That's not mandatory.
I was kind of curious how you would be able to get it to do that. So thank you.
All right. All right, so we're ready for the test, right? Any questions? It's gonna look, everybody's head came up then, boy. Okay, so when you come in on Tuesday, I probably said Monday a while ago. When you come in on Tuesday, you will the test will be available at 9:30. Sometime make it 9:25. Give you an extra 5 minutes. You come in, you download it. The only thing that I ask is that you not talk to each other during the test that you're taking it, nor text each other, message each other. That's the only thing that, but otherwise you can use your book, you can pull up Project 1, you can pull up any of your exercises, anything that helps you solve the problem, okay? Just not each other. This time I want to know what you know, okay? Any questions? All right, I will see you all 9:30 Tuesday morning. Have a great weekend.